A nation, a society has to have laws in order to live together and work together and coexist. If those laws are not rooted in what is objectively true, those laws are unjust, and that's what Martin Luther King's getting at.
Christopher, I recently ran across a fascinating quote from Martin Luther King Jr., where somebody is challenging him and how he could uphold some laws of the United States but disregard other laws. And it had to do with segregation, right, and his civil rights activity and his civil disobedience. And he's fascinating. Now, this is before you and I, we were both born in 1969, but we kind of grew up, hearing about this, and I think it's fascinating that, he was a minister, and he was really drawing on a biblical understanding of humanity. And we'll see in this quote, even though he wasn't Catholic, he really is drawing on a traditional Christian understanding and Catholic understanding of the world and of law. So he's being challenged here about just and unjust laws. Right. And here's the quote. The answer is found in the fact that there are two types of laws. There are just laws and there are unjust laws. I would agree with St. Augustine that an unjust law is no law at all. Now, what is the difference between the two? How does one determine when a law is just or unjust? A just law is a man-made code that squares with the moral law or the law of God. An unjust law is a code that is out of harmony with the moral law. To put it in the terms of St. Thomas Aquinas, an unjust law is a human law that is not rooted in eternal and natural law.
Wow, go Martin Luther.
How about that?
So he's saying a law is just, a human law is just, in as much as it is rooted in an eternal truth. We have lost sight of that entirely in the modern world and in the way laws are made and enforced even. And what this brings to mind for me is this truth that if we are not all answerable together, all of us, to an objective reality, if there is no objective truth to which you and I and the whole world are equally subject to, answerable to, then laws become the rule of whoever has the most military might, the most media influence, whoever's been, elected through whatever propaganda, now I'm in charge and I get to make the laws. And we see this in, the shift from this president to this president. All these laws get thrown off the books. All these laws get put back on the books, depending on who's in power. We have lost sight of objective reality. That's really what's going on here. And we think, and I'm sympathetic to a certain sensitivity that people have here. We think that if there is an objective truth, then that's going to lead to being tyrannized, right? Somebody's going to impose that on me. But exactly the opposite is true. If there's no objective truth, it leads to tyranny. Just because of what I said. When we're not all answerable to an objective truth, might makes right. And then somebody's made up version of the truth will be imposed on everyone. It's objective truth that saves us from tyranny. And I love the way John Paul II put this. He said, truth can never be imposed, only proposed. That's where respect for the person's freedom is. And we all have the rational ability to seek that truth and to discover it. And we have the obligation, John Paul II says, that once we find the truth, what is rationally, objectively true, we're obligated to adhere to it, right? A nation, a society has to have laws in order to live together and work together and coexist. If those laws are not rooted in what is objectively true, those laws are unjust, and that's what Martin Luther King's getting at.
Yeah, it's powerful. I love that, imposition versus proposition. I love that. And even if I think like the Old Testament, the word Torah, which is where we get the word law from in the Old Testament, means to hit the mark.
Right.
and we know the word sin means to miss the mark. So I like putting it in that context
Yes,
as well.
yes.
This idea of just and unjust laws. When we have a law that is unjust, it in a sense misses the mark because it takes us on a path that is not in tune, as Martin Luther King said, in quoting Aquinas, with our eternal destiny, basically, the eternal law.
And destiny is another word related to Torah.
That's right.
And to sin. All of these are Archer's terms. Destiny means to aim at, right? Torah means to hit the mark, and sin means to miss the mark. The purpose of law is to help aim our arrow so that we're hitting the mark, right? When we have an unjust law, we're moving the target. We're saying there is no target. If we have no target, if we have no genuine aim, if we have no destiny, well, then there is no morality at all. For example, think of the nearest Starbucks to your house.
Got it.
You got it?
Got it.
So suppose your destiny is Starbucks, and I see you walking in the opposite direction. I could rightly say to you, Jason, you're going the wrong way. But if you have no destiny, if you're just going for a random walk, it makes zero sense to say, Jason, you're going the wrong way, right? Morality only makes sense in light of destiny. Is there something we're aiming at? If there's something objective that we're aiming at as human beings, then we can rightly say, if you go that way, you're not going to get there. When we lose sight of objective reality, objective destiny, objective purpose, the old-fashioned word that the church would use is the telos, the end, the goal. When we lose sight of that, again, we're back to tyranny. We're back to might makes right. Whoever has the power, whoever has the media influence, the muscle, is going to be directing us in all kinds of different ways.
And isn't it true? It's striking me as I'm listening to you that if we are all in agreement that we have a destiny and that there's a path to get there, when we fall off of that path, and then we're all in the same boat. Then we're really trying to help each other get there. And so this is where mercy comes in. So we can be merciful to each other and not condemning to each other. And isn't this what Jesus does for us? He comes in and says, hey, you guys, I mean, to put it lightly, you're on the wrong path. Like you fell off the path. Let me put you back on with my mercy and my grace. He doesn't come in with a sledgehammer and hammer us with the law, so to speak, but it's the law of grace that he gives through mercy that compels us inwardly to want to get back on that path and reach our destiny.
And even more remarkably, he doesn't only say, hey, there's the path. He says, I am the path. Yeah. I am the way.
There it is.
I am the truth. I am the life. If that's real, we have no reason not to follow, because that's going to lead us to where we really want to go.